Here's how to find and repair air leaks with your inflatable stand-up paddleboard. As you recall from my earlier video, I ended up choosing the Connelly inflatable stand-up paddleboard with the flip-up seat. And the reasons for that are in that earlier video, and there's a link below in the description for it. But what I'm going to show you will apply to any inflatable stand-up paddleboard. The Connelly board came with this little kit in the orange container that includes both patches and the repair sealant. What I noticed the last time I used it is that the seat cushion on the bottom seemed to have some kind of a leak when I was trying to fill it up with the compressor. So I'm going to remove that from the rest of the paddleboard. I have the 12-volt compressor and the seat cushion out in the driveway so that I can use the car to power the compressor and look for these air leaks. Now this compressor has an adapter that inserts and spins into the seat cushion. Now you can see it inflating. Now when I turn it, it instantly deflates. What happened is the end of the hose came off from the rest of the hose and stayed inside the fitting going into the cushion. That fitting was in place holding the valve stem down, and that caused all the air to leak out. So now we fill it back up again, and this time I twisted it out by grabbing onto the very bottom or end of the hose instead of that next piece, which is kind of easier to use, and the cushion stayed filled. So I'm going to go ahead and put the cap back in place. Now even though my cushion doesn't appear to be leaking after all, and the issue is more with the hose, which I'll talk about repairing in a minute, this is how you would check for air leaks, is get a little bit of dish soap and water and just kind of smear it around everything where you think the leak may be happening. Now you may not know where the leak is, and you'll end up basically rubbing it around the entire cushion, but you should be able to hear an air leak. Now you can see when I push that valve stem in, all the air comes back out. So now I'm going to put the hose back in place, and I'm going to turn on the compressor, and I'm going to get some more dish soap and water and kind of smear it around the edge of the hose, not fitting. And now when you look closely, you can see those air bubbles coming to the surface, right? And so what's happening is air is leaking out of that hose and fitting, and it's blowing air into that film of dish soap, which lets you see where the leak is. So we can see that the actual leak was not in the cushion at all. The leak happened at the end of this hose where the material goes over the fitting and the joint between the two end fittings. Now what we're going to do is try to repair the hose where it's leaking. If you look at the end, again, there's the fitting that goes into the end of the hose and then into the fitting in the cushion or paddleboard, and then you have a cap that you don't really need. So I'm going to get rid of that cap because it's just in the way. After I've washed, rinsed, and dried off the fittings and everything, got all the water out of the way, I'm just going to use some regular super glue to seal this. I'm going to take the super glue and put it around the outside edge of the inner fitting. So think about where the two surfaces go together. It's on the inside, so it's going to form an adhesive bond between the inside of the main hose and the outside of that fitting. And the idea with this is we don't want that thing to keep twisting out or leaking when we're inserting it in and out of the different ports on the paddleboard. I'm also going to apply some super glue to the bottom of that tubing where it touches the fitting, because it looked like there was some bubbles being generated out there as well. And I want to make this thing as sealed as airtight as I can. So I'm going to lay a bead of super glue all the way around that edge. Even though I had super glue between the two surfaces where they lock together, I'm also going to put some around this edge between them as well, because that's just going to make the bond that much stronger and minimize the chance of leaks. I'm rotating it around just in case there's any thick areas, so it kind of rotates and evens out. And then I'm going to lay it here to dry in a place where I know that the glue won't get stuck to anything like a table. And when I do use this in the future, I'm going to try to be more conscious about holding by the bottom. If you do that, hold it by the very end, that last fitting, it'll be more apt to go in and out correctly without starting to spin in there. You'll put less pressure on that joint that's now been glued because it got too loose before. Now let's say we had found a leak in the seat cushion. I want to make sure we cover how to repair those leaks as well. So the first thing I would do is have a black marker and identify, let's say the hole is right there. Then I would take the marker and draw a circle around it. That way when I wash off the dish soap that we use to find the hole, you can still see where the hole is. Now we go into our kit, and again, the Connelly comes with it. Other paddle boards may have different setups, but really what you need is your repair sealant and the patch. And the patches are made to match the color of the different pieces so that it doesn't look all scabbed together like duct tape. And you simply wash the area, make sure it's dry, then put the sealant on the back of the pouch and center it over the hole. And that's all there is to it. So now that everything's repaired, let all the sealant dry and then get back out on the water and take your fuzzy buddy if you've got one and enjoy a little exercise in the beautiful weather. Subscribe to my YouTube channel below and let's celebrate turning fuel and air into adrenaline.